You're watching Local Edition from San Diego County today. I'm Brad Pomerance. Mike Diaz is back. He is a councilman in the city of Chula Vista, beautiful city in South San Diego County near the Mexican border. With also, you got beachfront in Chula Vista, and it's beautiful. But I want to talk about that beachfront, that Bayfront, because it's had a tough history over the last, I don't know, decade or two. Give us a sense of the history of the Bayfront.
Well, it's the last major chunk of coastal lands in the state of California. So this is a huge project. It's about 500 acres. So it's big, it's significant. And it does have a colorful past.
Right.
We started
colorful.
We tried to start this process about 20 years ago.
Wow!
And so we've been talking about it for a long time.
And it is what, the development of it?
It's the development of it. But
so what's that look like right now?
Well, right now, there used to be a power plant, the Duke Energy. You know, we've taken that down. So there's been just a tremendous amount. Well, in 2005, Gaylord tried to create the project.
And Gaylord is a developer?
Yeah, developer. And they, in 2008, because of some labor issues and the economy, they pulled out of the project. So after that, we decided, okay, let's just keep plugging along. So persistence really was the recipe here to the success. But then we decided, okay, let's start taking small baby steps to make this project come to fruition. And some of those things that we had to do were to get rid of the power plant, to do land swaps with Roar and with Pacifica. It's a aircraft industry.
Got it.
Community partner. And so we had to move them to the north a little bit. So we did some land swapping to keep their campus more north and to make room for
what about the California Coastal Commission? They're very protective of the coast. How did you get them involved? I'm sure you had to.
Well, over the last decade, there's been just hundreds of meetings with the wildlife advisory groups, the Bayfront design folks, just hundreds of public meetings, because you have to address those and mitigate those issues. And we got through all that.
Fantastic.
And so that was I think that was forward looking on past councils, which have led up to what we have today, which is
huge news. What's the huge news?
The huge news is we got past the first hurdle, which is a non-binding agreement between the district, RETA, which is a developer, and the city of Chula Vista.
And when you say the district, the Port District.
Yes.
The Port had to be involved in this. And so tell us about, is there an MOU, a memorandum of understanding? What are the thoughts?
It's a letter of intent where we spell out the project, the scope, and the funding, and how we take care of infrastructure. It's
incredibly ambitious project in the best sense. Give us your thumbnail of what we can expect, presuming we march forward.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yes.
The expectation is that we got the letter of intent done now. We pretty much have most of the hurdles out of the way. Now we need to get a finalized or definite agreement, which hopefully we'll have by September. If that happens, then we're off to the races.
Right.
Yes, and so that could be an 18 to 2-year project, and then after that, there's other projects. It's 500 acres.
Right.
The hotel is only 36.
Right. So tell me about that. We need our viewers to know, what is this hotel that you're talking about?
Well, it's a 1,450 room project in a 275 square foot conference center. Chula Vista doesn't even have a conference center. Second largest city in the county. No real conference space. And so this is, and it's not designed to compete with the convention center. We're never going to do that. But there are people that go to the convention center and they make the request for a convention, and it's a smaller venue. They don't have the space.
They don't need that much space. Maybe they need
or the space is taken up, and we have something across the bay, or even just a simple a graduation. Proms. I'm sorry, proms. There's no place to go really in Chula Vista. So this opens up a lot, and it's going to create about 7,000 jobs, 3,000 permanent jobs in the city of Chula Vista. It's going to create about $1.7 billion of economic impacts for the region, and so it's good. It's great. And the thing the problem we have in Chula Vista is that we are the lowest tax generating city in the region.
And so, you're the second largest city in this county.
Yeah. And so that's why we had to go out and push Measure P. We talked about that earlier in other programs.
Sales tax.
Sales tax.
That passed.
And that passed. But what I'm afraid of is if we don't start working on creating more revenue in the city of Chula Vista, in 15 years, so the Measure P is good for 10 years.
Right.
In 15 years, we're going to be going back again for another Prop P.
Right.
And so we need to change that. And the Bayfront's going to change that. We're going to have other hotels, condominiums, retail.
Let me ask you about that, because I presume you have this hotel, then there are catalytic consequences as a result. What else do you envision for the 500 acres? Because I presume the hotel doesn't take 500 acres.
No, it doesn't. It's 36. It's 36 acres.
Right.
We're only going to use about half that, maybe 200. I believe 240 acres. I could be wrong.
It's fine.
The other one is all going to be open space.
Nice.
Parks,
nice.
Bike paths, Class 1 bike path. We're going to be extending H Street all the way into that project. And then there's going to be condominiums. I think there's going to be 400. I believe I could be wrong there. And there'll be retail, commercial, a huge mix of amenities for the community.
I want to talk about roads. You had mentioned roads, and obviously when you bring a project like this in to your region, there needs to be some changes to the infrastructure. What is the plan in terms of infrastructure changes?
Well,
I know it's early. Don't get me wrong.
We're going to do, and actually, H Street is one of those. We're also going to be putting in improving the streets that run south to north.
But where does the funding come from? I asked you that for a couple of reasons. One, San Diego County recently voted against a transportation tax that may have helped for something like this, but the state did pass a transportation tax that could help with something like this, the SB1. So where do we land?
Well, what we're doing under this plan is the phase one is going to be about $56 million infrastructure for infrastructure, roadways, things like that. And then the second part is once we start going vertical, in other words, start getting sticks up in the air, it's about another $225 million that we'll be spending.
So where does that almost $300 million come from?
We're going to issue debt, but but the plan is that we're going to be paying that debt through the revenues that are generated through that project. So as it generates revenues, we'll be using that to pay off that debt.
But could you ask the state for some of the SB1 money to help you?
There's no doubt in my mind that our city staff is looking for any kind of ways of funding.
And the new president has talked about spending $1 trillion on infrastructure. So could you ask the new president's administration for money?
I don't know if we have or not, and that's a good question. But and keep in mind that this has been this plan goes back to this letter of intent and how we talk about the how we finance this is a 2-year-long process. So 2 years ago, the administration was a little different.
Different administration, that's right. And we didn't have SB1.
So we'll see. We'll see how we go. But right now, we have a good idea of how we're going to get there. And between now and September is a time where we're going to be asking those other types of questions.
The energy I am feeling from you is so palpable. I can tell you are so excited about this project, and I'm so happy for you in the city.
Well, the people should be, because this is not just a Chula Vista project. $1.7 billion in economic activity
great for Cali Baja
in the region.
Yeah, his name is Mike Diaz. He is a councilman in the city of Chula Vista, on the verge of some greatness. Already a great city, but on the verge of even more greatness. I'm Brad Pomerance in San Diego County. It's Local Edition.